Hey, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jesse, and today I'm bringing you my March wrap-up. I can't believe March is over. I'm also sad that March is over. I had plans to read quite a few books in the month of March, and I just did not get to very many books, which is okay. I read a total of 6 books in March, 2 of them being novellas, 2 being full-fledged novels, and 2 being graphic novels. So I just didn't get around too much this month. I also just don't feel like I have that much to say about these books, and I almost debated if I should or should not film a wrap-up, but like, I'm going with it. But just know that I don't have a lot to say about these books. I'm gonna give you some bite-sized thoughts. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first book I read is Stuffed, which is a living pillow romance. I did a full video breakdown on this book, going into spoilers and giving you all the deets. I've just been really enjoying reading these absurd romance novels. I've been stumbling across a lot of romance novels like this one that involve a human falling in love with things like a pillow, a balloon animal, a door, water. And when I hear these concepts, I just can't help but like trip and fall and somehow have the book end up in my hands, and I devour it, and I love every bit of it. Mind you, I don't take them seriously. I know what I'm going into, and I know that they're not going to like be novels that come into my life and change my life. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a silly, goofy, good time, and that's always what they deliver. That's exactly what this one delivered. It is a little bit scarring. Like, I can't look at a pillow the same way again. Like, every time I look at a pillow now, like, I come back to this book, and I just think about this scene in particular that happens in this book where the pillow in question forms into a human, and that process alone, scarring. I cannot stop thinking about it. I will say that I did enjoy the door romance a lot more than I enjoyed the pillow romance. This one was a lot more cringy than the door romance. Mind you, they're both cringy. They're both hard to like wrap your mind around, but like still, again, they're a silly, goofy, fun time. Like, especially when you learn the lore behind like how these inanimate objects are turning into humans. Like, that aspect I find so much enjoyment in because it's just like so creative. Like, every time I read the lore behind the pillow or the lore behind the door, I'm like, this is so absurd and I'm obsessed with it. I love the absurdity. I will in fact be reading more novels that include inanimate objects becoming humans because it's just a vibe. It's such a fun time. I do recommend trying one out every now and then, or just watching my videos breaking them down. I'm not gonna give this a rating because I don't feel like I go into it with the mind of like, I'm going to be a critical reviewer. I go into it with a goofy, silly attitude, so no rating for me. I went from that absurdity to reading a much more normal middle grade novel called It's Boba Time for Pearl Lee. In this book, we are following Pearl Lee, and one of her favorite boba shops is closing down, and she is doing everything she can to save it from closing down. And one of the things that she is doing is basically starting like a crochet business where she is selling crochet dolls. I'll admit that I'm not the biggest fan of like middle grade contemporary. It's just not my favorite. I much more prefer middle grade fantasy. Like, if I'm going to read a middle grade book, I want there to be lots of magic. I want there to be lots of adventure. This one was super wholesome and super sweet. It was filled to the brim with boba, and I was really into it. There were elements of it that I didn't love. Like, I felt like there were some unnecessary things that played out throughout the plot. Like, it's already got a lot going for it. For example, some of the things that worked for me, we have Pearl kind of having a difficult relationship with her parents. They just don't really like understand her, and they don't really support her in the way that she needs to be supported. And that's a rather big plot point throughout the book, something that she has to kind of work through and kind of find a resolution with her parents. And we also have her, you know, starting this business on the side and kind of like keeping it a secret from her family. And she is building a better relationship with her sister. They've always been fine, but it's them kind of like coming together to work together. And then on top of that, this unnecessary drama starts to play out with her friends, and I just felt like there was just like too much going on. I felt like it would have been nice to just have her friends be supportive and them kind of not have any conflict. I just felt like that on top of everything just became a bit too much. But overall, this is a super sweet contemporary story filled with tons of boba, which made me super happy. It had me craving boba the whole time reading it, and I really enjoyed my time reading it. I loved kind of seeing where things went. I loved seeing Pearl work through her issues with her parents and coming together with her sister. I think the sisterly bond was honestly one of my favorite aspects of this book. I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed this one, just because, like, again, I was going into it being like, I don't do too well with middle grade contemporary stories, but like, it did the dang thing. I really enjoyed my time reading it. And talking about it is honestly making me want to go and get myself some some boba. I gave It's Boba Time for Pearly a 4-star rating. The next book that I read is The Lamb Will Slaughter the Lion. Honestly, this book was not a vibe for me. I really did not enjoy my time reading it. I did a full reading vlog for this book, so if you want to know more details, go and check out that vlog. This book follows our main character who decides to look into the mysterious death of their friend. Their friend took their own life, and our main character just feels like uneasy about it, and in doing so, they venture into this squatter town that their friend used to be a part of. And in this small town, it's a little bit confusing to explain, but they basically have this protector spirit that they've worked with, which is what this is on the cover. This is the protector spirit. It's a 3-antlered deer, and the protector spirit ends up like turning on them, and so our main character has to work with some of the people that she's met and become close friends with rather quickly in order to help protect the town and like save the town. It's hard to talk about this book because like I saw its potential, especially in like the second chapter. It's when we get like a lot of information about the town and the protector spirit and kind of that lore, and I really loved that aspect of it. I was beginning to think that I struck gold, but like the further I got into it, the more disappointed I became. One, this book feels incredibly preachy. Like as you're reading it, it's very clear what the author is trying to do. It's very clear the message that the author has. And I'm not mad when an author like has something that they want to say and they want to incorporate that in the book. Like obviously I'm down for that. Like you have a voice, use it. But I think it becomes a problem for me when it doesn't feel natural, when it feels too preachy. I think there's a way to work in messaging through like the actions of the characters, the interactions of the characters, things that come up within the novel. But this book, when bringing up the topic that the author wants to kind of like push, it just felt so unnatural. It felt very disruptive of the flow. And again, it's not bad to talk about those things, but it was just the way it was worked in. Also, in terms of a novella, and this is just kind of like my personal perspective and my personal opinion on novellas, I feel like when it comes to a novella, you kind of have to keep things short and sweet in order to keep things moving at a nice pace, in order to like cover a lot of things in a short amount of time. And you can't really like hone in on topics necessarily. I mean, you can, but it holds things back and doesn't allow you enough time to explore the things that you need to explore in the short amount of time that you have. And I felt like the author kind of kept like trying to hone in on things, and I saw what they were trying to do, but I feel like it was just really holding this book back from really reaching its full potential. And there was potential. Again, in the first few chapters, I was like, this is really vibey. I'm really into it. But then it just like fell so flat for me. I feel like one thing that I will say that's positive about this book is that I really enjoyed the atmosphere. It's very eerie, very creepy. There are animals throughout this town that like have parts of their body like ripped out, and they're still like alive. Like the animals are like living beings, but they have like parts of their bodies that are ripped out, and it's just like very gory and gruesome. Even though that was like a bit much and a bit like ew, and is not something that I would want to see in real life, I feel like it did do a good job of kind of like really painting the atmosphere in a specific way, and I appreciated that about the book. Other than that though, I did not enjoy this one. I would give this a 1.5-star rating. Next, I finally finished The Devil Makes 3. This book took me a while to complete, but I did really enjoy my time reading it. I ended up picking out this book for myself after I roasted books opening lines and like ranked the lines, and decided that this would be one of my next reads, and I finally got around to it. In this book, we were following Tess and Elliot, and essentially they end up unleashing a devil from this forbidden book within a library, and obviously they are giving the quest of like taking care of this situation that they've found themselves in. A rather sticky situation. We bounce back and forth between Tess and Elliot's perspectives, and I feel like they both just have such contrasting personalities that they both really were able to bring a lot of different elements to the story and like make the book more interesting. We already have such an interesting plot developing, and their personalities on top of it, their perspectives on top of it, really just added so much. There is a romance that is woven in throughout the story, but it's not like overwhelming, and I never really felt like it overtook the plot, which I really appreciated. And I really liked kind of where they ended up. I feel like they became a support system for each other, and obviously they went through a lot, so it makes sense that they would like gravitate towards each other and support each other and become a strong unit. I did really enjoy reading this book, and I would recommend it, but it's not necessarily a book that blew me away, which is okay. Not every book needs to come into my life and just like change my life forever, you know? Sometimes it's fun to just read a fun little entertaining read that you just feel fine about, and that's where I landed with this one. Overall, I gave The Devil Makes 3 a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up, I reread Let's Play, which honestly, I'm so happy that I decided to reread this because because it just reminded me how much I love this series and how much I want to continue on with it, and hopefully I will be able to continue on with it now that I've reread this first volume. I'm gonna give you a little idea as to what this is about, but I feel like there's so much that happens that like it changes so much even after this first volume that it shifts the description entirely. But in it, we were basically following Sam, who is a game developer. She's developed this indie game, and this streamer that she's enjoyed for a long time ends up reviewing the game for his millions of followers, and he gives the game like this scathing review. Like, he hates the game and he tells everybody how lame it is, and all his viewers go and like review bomb her game, and they're like, this is the worst, I hate this game, martial law hates this game, so I hate it too. And none of them have played the game. They just like took Marshall's opinion and then went and review bombed the game. One day Sam is coming back to her apartment and finds out that martial law is moving in next door. That's kind of like the kickoff of the series. A lot more happens. We follow Sam at the workplace. We follow Marshall and Sam and their complicated relationship. Sam at some point obviously confronts Marshall about the video game review that he did about her game and the way that it made her feel and kind of the consequences that came with that review, and like how all his fans like came and review bombed her game and how it's just like affected her career as an indie developer. And we follow her at the workplace. We see glimpses of her adorable dog. Sam is a part of a gaming squad, and we see moments where they come together and play together. That's always really fun. We see interactions with Sam and her dad, because her dad is like the CEO of the company that she works for, and they have a lot of fun interactions. The humor is on point. It's one of my favorite things ever. It's not like every page has something that I'm like laughing about, but the humor that does come through, oh, it hits it every time. It has me dying, not dying, but like it makes me laugh. I really enjoy it. I really love the representation of anxiety throughout this book. I feel like the author does a really fantastic job of visualizing that and like giving you an understanding as to what anxiety looks like for some people. And honestly, I love the romancy bits. There's so much romance woven throughout this series. This first volume only touches the surface. We really only see tension between Marshall and Sam, but like there's so many other guys that come into the picture and kind of like have Sam feel in some kind of way. So overall, I really enjoy this series. It's available for free on the Webtoons platform, so if you want to check it out for free, it's available for free. I just really love this series and wanted to have physical copies, which is why I have a physical copy. I would give this first volume a 5 out of 5 stars based on just my love for it alone. I don't necessarily think it's a perfect story, but like, I really enjoy it. I find it entertaining, so 5 out of 5 stars from me. The last book that I snuck in here at the end of March is this graphic novel called Nothing Special. In this book, we are following our main character, Callie, who lives in a world where there are magical realms, but her father refuses to let her go and explore the magical realms. He owns this like magical antique store and is often going into the magical realms to find things to sell within his magical shop. One day her father goes missing and Callie has to enter the magical realm in order to track him down and essentially save him. Like, boy gets himself into a sticky situation and Callie and her group of misfit friends have to band together in order to save him. It's a really fun and nonsensical story. We're following a group of misfits, and I really love that aspect of it in particular. Like, I really enjoyed kind of the dynamics between the group and also just like the banter that occurs. I really loved venturing into the magical realm and seeing all the illustrations that came along with it. I feel like that's something that I really, really loved about this. I feel like the illustrations were just so magical and beautiful and just won my heart over, let me tell you. I will say that I feel like I kind of had to suspend my disbelief a bit in terms of like understanding the world, because we didn't really get an explanation on how things work, why there is a magical realm, or how the real world and the magical world kind of coexist. Like, we didn't get that much information, so I kind of just had to like go along with it. I was able to do that easily, but I do hope that down the line I get more information, because I want more information. This is a series, so I'm hoping that things will be expanded on more down the line. Overall, I really enjoyed it. If you're looking for a fun, light, magical adventure, I would definitely recommend this. It's available for free on Webtoons, so if you want to check it out for free, I will leave a link to this on Webtoons down below in the description. Not sponsored at all, just wanted to shout out the fact that it's free. That is it for my March wrap-up, my underwhelming March wrap-up. I'm hoping for more success in the month of April. Not that March was not a success. Like, I really enjoyed all the books that I read, except for one. There was one book that was a bad egg, and I'm going to dispose of it soon, so don't you worry. I'm not gonna like throw it away, obviously, but like, I'm passing it on. I'm gonna take it to my used bookstore and sell it for some store credit. I wanna hear from you guys down below in the comments. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. If you haven't read any of these books, and just let me know down below in the comments some of the books that you read in the month of March. Were there any books that you read in March that you recommend? Were there any bad eggs that you had in the month of March that you're gonna be disposing of? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, be sure to go and hit that like button. If you wanna see more bookish content from me, be sure to go and hit subscribe or go and hit that bell icon and you'll be notified every time I post new videos. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope today is bright, that tomorrow is brighter. Keep reading what your heart desires, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye, yo!